I used to see it as a dream, a sanctuary of screens, bathed in the cool glow of monitors, a place where the chaos of the pitch was tamed by logic and technology. I imagined myself, the unseen arbiter, the quiet force correcting the universe of a football match. I pictured the weight of history lifted, the wrong team's cheers echoing in my mind as I'd confirm a goal or award that crucial penalty. It sounded like a chance to be important, to be right when it mattered most. My colleagues, they'd talk about it with a mix of awe and trepidation, but I always felt a pull towards it. The idea of wielding that power, of being the safeguard against injustice, felt like a calling. But the reality? It's a stark contrast to that idealized vision. Step inside this room with me. Forget the roar of the crowd, the electric atmosphere of the stadium. Here, it's a different kind of intensity, a suffocating pressure, amplified by the silence. The air is thick with anticipation, with the unspoken fear of making the wrong call. We're a small group, huddled in this dimly lit space, a world away from the dazzling floodlights and the thousands of eyes scrutinizing every move. My hands, they grip the edge of the console, not with confidence, but with a palpable tension. The screens in front of me flicker, a kaleidoscope of angles, replays, slow-motion distortions of reality. Each one is a piece of a puzzle I have mere seconds to solve. The weight of it, it's crushing. A goal disallowed, a penalty waved away. These aren't just abstract decisions on a screen. They are moments that can shatter dreams, ignite fury, and redefine legacies. I feel it in my gut, this constant tightrope walk. If I'm too quick, too decisive, the whispers start. He didn't look properly, he missed something. The accusations are swift, venomous, amplified by the echo chamber of social media that we can't even hear from inside this bubble. But if I hesitate, if I spend just a few extra seconds scrutinizing that offside line, that potential handball, the frustration builds from the outside. The clock ticks, and with every second, the pressure mounts. "Get on with it," they scream, their voices imagined but deafening. And the most insidious part, no matter the outcome, the blame, the absolute, unadulterated blame, always finds its way back to us. It's like we're designated scapegoats for the beautiful, imperfect game. I've seen reputations tarnished, careers questioned, all for a decision made in the blink of an eye, under an avalanche of impossible expectations. We were supposed to be the antidote to controversy, the bringers of clarity, but I'm starting to wonder if we've become something else entirely. We're living in the shadows, aren't we? Forever in the periphery, judged by a verdict we deliver, but never truly understood. And the irony, when we get it right, when a correct decision is made, it's met with silence. No applause, no recognition, just nothing. It's as if our perfect moments are invisible, swallowed by the void of expectation. But a single debatable call, that's all it takes for us to become the villain of the piece, the number one enemy. How does that feel? To be the invisible hand that corrects, yet the visible target for every single mistake. I'm beginning to question if the problem is truly with the technology or with us, with our insatiable hunger for a football that's devoid of the very human errors that make it so captivating. We can't accept that, can we? That football, at its heart, has always been about these moments of fallibility. This constant scrutiny, this inability to escape the judgment, it changes you. It burrows under your skin, and I'm left wondering, as the next replays flash before my eyes, if this dream job has become my personal purgatory. My colleagues, they're a mix of stoic faces and nervous tics, each one wrestling with their own internal battle. We rarely speak during the actual reviews, the silence punctuated only by the muffled sounds of the match filtering through the walls, a ghostly reminder of the real world we're currently manipulating. I watch them, their eyes locked on their screens, their fingers hovering over buttons, making minute adjustments to the playback. There's an unspoken understanding between us, a shared burden that binds us in this peculiar isolation. We are a brotherhood forged in the crucible of controversy, united by the invisible threads of pressure. I see the sweat on one man's brow as he meticulously traces an offside line, a task that appears so simple on the surface, yet carries the weight of 1,000 potential arguments. Another stares intently at a supposed handball, his brow furrowed in concentration, trying to decipher intent from physics. They're not robots, you see. They're men just like me, grappling with the same gnawing doubt, the same fear of the unseen consequences. And the fans. Oh, the fans. I can almost feel their collective breath held, their frustration building with every second the game is paused. They don't see the meticulous analysis, the cross-referencing of angles, the internal debate that rages within us. They see a disruption, a break in the flow they so desperately crave. They hear the referee's whistle, then silence, then a decision that often leaves them feeling cheated or bewildered. They can't hear the conversations, the back and forth, the attempts to find consensus, the agonizing over the letter of the law versus the spirit of the game. All they have is the result, the stark, unadorned outcome, and with it, a fertile ground for suspicion. They are shouting at us through invisible megaphones, their anger a palpable force that seems to seep through the very concrete of this room. And I can't blame them, can I? If I were on the outside, blissfully unaware of the internal machinations, I'd be just as frustrated. The narrative, you see, is already written for them. The moment the screen freezes, the story of injustice begins. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of doubt. And the kicker? When we actually get it right. When a clear-cut error is rectified. When the correct decision is made, there's no fanfare, no acknowledgement. It's as if our most crucial interventions are meant to be invisible, absorbed by the fabric of the game without a trace. It's the ultimate paradox of our existence. We are built to correct, but only our failures are truly seen, truly felt. We are the ghosts in the machine, only noticed when we flicker and falter. And that, my friend, is a heavy weight to carry, day in and day out, in this dimly lit room far from the roar of those who judge us most harshly. We were meant to be the arbiters of truth, but we've become the conduits for a new era of footballing anxiety, haven't we? This constant tension, this perpetual state of being judged without being understood, it's relentless. It makes you question everything. This pursuit of a flawless game, is it even attainable? Or are we simply unable to reconcile ourselves with the fundamental truth that football, at its core, will always be a human endeavor, susceptible to the same beautiful, messy fallibility that defines us all? I'm starting to think the latter. This relentless cycle of scrutiny, of being dissected and judged in absentia, it does something to your mind, you know? It's like living in a perpetual state of self-doubt, even when I know I'm right. I've started to see phantom lines of offside in my sleep, replaying controversial incidents over and over, trying to find that one fraction of a second where I might have missed something, where I could have done more. It's an obsession born of necessity, a desperate attempt to armor myself against the inevitable backlash. The technology is incredible, don't get me wrong. I have access to angles that would make a sports director weep with joy. I can freeze time, zoom in on a millimeter of an arm, scrutinize the trajectory of a ball with a precision that feels almost supernatural. But that precision, that ability to dissect reality into its most minute components, it also becomes a weapon against me. Because now, with all this data, all these possibilities, the margin for error is perceived to be zero. And if there's even a hint of ambiguity, if there's a decision that's not crystal clear, then it's not an interpretation anymore, it's a failure. It's a deliberate oversight. The fans, they're not looking for a fair interpretation, they're looking for vindication. They've already decided who's right and who's wrong before the game even starts, and VAR for them is just another tool to prove their pre-existing beliefs. And we, the VAR officials, we're caught in the middle, the unwitting pawns in this grand theater of opinion. I remember one particular match, a Champions League semi-final. The tension in the room was so thick you could practically chew it. A late goal, incredibly tight offside. We spent what felt like an eternity reviewing it. Frame by frame, the offside line hovering over the defender's boot, then the attacker's toe. My colleagues and I, we debated, we argued, we reviewed it from every conceivable angle. My heart was pounding in my chest, a frantic rhythm against the oppressive silence. I could feel the weight of the world on my shoulders, the hopes of a nation riding on this one call. We finally made a decision, based on the evidence, based on the laws of the game, as we understood them. The goal was disallowed. The reaction was immediate and brutal. The internet exploded. Accusations of bias, incompetence, corruption, you name it, they threw it at us. Even though I knew deep down that my decision was correct, that I had followed the protocol, that I had applied the rules as they are written, the sheer volume of vitriol was overwhelming. It felt like a personal attack, a condemnation of my very character. And the most infuriating part, the footballing world, the pundits, the former players with their own agendas, they would all chime in, picking apart our decision with the benefit of hindsight and slow-motion replays that we, in that moment, didn't have the luxury of seeing. They would simplify complex situations into sound bites, fueling the fire of public outrage. And the fans, they just lapped it up, their anger validated, their distrust reinforced. It's a vicious cycle, and I'm beginning to feel trapped within it. We were supposed to be the custodians of fairness, the guardians of the game's integrity. But in this dark room, with the weight of the world pressing down, I'm starting to feel more like a prisoner, condemned to a fate where the only certainty is condemnation. Is this truly what football has become? A battle of endless accusations, where the truth is always secondary to the narrative? I'm starting to wonder if the very essence of what we're trying to preserve is being lost in this pursuit of an unattainable perfection, a perfection that ironically might be killing the very soul of the beautiful game. And I can't shake this feeling that we're part of the problem, that our very presence, our attempts to eliminate human error, have only amplified our own perceived flaws, making us more visible, more vulnerable, and ultimately more hated. The technology is indeed a marvel, a complex tapestry of fiber optics and high-definition feeds, yet it feels more like a gilded cage than a tool of liberation. Each camera angle, each replay, becomes another lens through which my decision will be magnified, scrutinized, and ultimately judged. I see the same pixelated images that millions will dissect on their screens, but unlike them, I carry the immediate, crushing responsibility of rendering a verdict. My colleagues, their faces etched with the same fatigue and anxiety I feel, are my only companions in this silent war. We exchange knowing glances, a shared understanding of the impossible tightrope we walk. There's a subtle nod from the technician beside me, a confirmation that the audio feed is clear, that the communication lines are open, but there's no reassurance in it. It's merely a precursor to the storm. The fans, they clamor for transparency, for the ability to hear our deliberations, to witness the nuanced debate that often unfolds in these crucial moments. They believe that if they could just hear us, they would understand, they would agree. But what they don't grasp is that our conversations, while rooted in logic and the letter of the law, are also infused with the same human uncertainty that plagues them. We're not infallible oracles, we're referees, tasked with interpreting a fast-paced, chaotic sport through the sterile prism of technology. The sheer volume of data we process in a matter of seconds, the player's position, the trajectory of the ball, the movement of the limbs, it's an overwhelming cognitive load. And the pressure to synthesize all of this into a definitive answer, without delay, without hesitation, is immense. If I were to articulate my thought process aloud, the nuances, the internal debates, the slight hesitations, it would likely only breed more confusion, more suspicion. They want a clear-cut, unambiguous answer, a black-and-white pronouncement. But football, as we both know, is rarely that simple. It exists in shades of grey, in the subjective interpretation of intent and action. And that's where the disconnect lies. They see a paused game, a broken rhythm, and an outcome that invariably disappoints a significant portion of the viewership. They don't see the meticulous tracing of an offside line, the careful consideration of a potential handball, the agonizing over whether a tackle was committed with excessive force or simply a robust challenge. They don't see us, huddled in this room, wrestling with the very human desire to be fair, to be correct, while simultaneously being acutely aware that any misstep will be amplified into a monumental error. And the irony, the cruel, bitter irony, is that when we get it right, when a correct decision is made, it's met with a deafening silence. It's as if our most crucial interventions are supposed to be invisible, absorbed by the fabric of the game without a trace. It's the ultimate paradox of our existence. We are built to correct, but only our failures are truly seen, truly felt. We are the ghosts in the machine, only noticed when we flicker and falter. And that, my friend, is a heavy weight to carry, day in and day out, in this dimly lit room, far from the roar of those who judge us most harshly. We were meant to be the arbiters of truth, but we've become the conduits for a new era of footballing anxiety, haven't we? This constant tension, this perpetual state of being judged without being understood, it's relentless. It makes you question everything. This pursuit of a flawless game, is it even attainable? Or are we simply unable to reconcile ourselves with the fundamental truth that football, at its core, will always be a human endeavor, susceptible to the same beautiful, messy fallibility that defines us all? I'm starting to think the latter, and it gnaws at me, this gnawing suspicion that perhaps we're not the solution, but merely a symptom of a deeper problem within the sport itself. A problem that lies not in the technology, but in our collective inability to accept the beautiful, inherent imperfection of the game we love. This room, it's become my confessional, my courtroom, my battlefield. The hum of the servers is a constant, low thrum beneath the silence, a reminder of the immense power and the immense vulnerability contained within these four walls. I look at my hands, calloused from years of holding a whistle on the pitch, now poised over a keyboard, capable of halting a global spectacle. It's a surreal juxtaposition, this transformation from the visceral, immediate world of the field to this sterile, detached environment. I remember the feeling of the grass under my boots, the roar of the crowd vibrating through my chest, the clear, sharp decisions I had to make in the heat of the moment. Those were simpler times in a way, because the fallibility was inherent, understood. A missed call was a human error, a part of the drama. Now, every human error, or perceived error, is amplified 1,000-fold by the very technology meant to eliminate it. We are the custodians of fairness, they said. We are the guardians of the game. But what are we really? I feel like a modern-day Sisyphus, forever pushing a boulder of impossible expectations up a hill, only to watch it roll back down with every controversial decision. They want perfection, but they're terrified of it too. Because if football becomes perfect, if every foul is called, every offside is spotted, every handball is penalized, where does the passion, the grit, the very essence of the game reside? I'm starting to suspect that what we're witnessing isn't a quest for justice, but a desperate attempt to sanitize the beautiful chaos that has always defined football. We in this room are not the problem, nor is the technology itself. The problem, I'm beginning to believe, is our collective inability to accept that football, at its core, is a human endeavor, a tapestry woven with threads of brilliance and fallibility. We crave certainty in a sport that thrives on ambiguity, and when that certainty isn't delivered, when the human element, however small, inevitably surfaces, we lash out. We can't stand the thought that our heroes might be caught offside by a millimeter, or that a game-changing goal might have been preceded by an imperceptible handball. It challenges our narratives, our emotional investment, so we blame the messenger, the unseen referee in the dark room, the one who dares to inject a sliver of doubt into our preconceived notions of victory and defeat. It's a cruel irony, isn't it? The very thing that was supposed to bring clarity and fairness has become the focal point of our collective frustration, a lightning rod for all the anxieties that plague the modern game. And I'm left here, in this dimly lit sanctuary, wrestling with the profound realization that perhaps, just perhaps, the greatest controversy isn't on the pitch, but within ourselves, within our insatiable need for a football that is, and always has been, inherently, beautifully, imperfect. This constant pressure, this feeling of being perpetually on trial, it's exhausting. It makes me question my own judgment, my own sanity. Are we really serving the game, or are we just perpetuating a cycle of discontent, a never-ending debate fueled by an inability to embrace the very human element that makes football so enthralling? I'm not sure I have the answers anymore. All I know is that the weight of these decisions, the endless scrutiny, it's a heavy burden to bear, and I'm starting to wonder if the dream job has become a life sentence in the shadows.